Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another versus video with Brad Nelson and Brian Braun doing. Today we actually have a deck tech because we did something innovative.
Did we?
I mean, I think so. I feel like it might be innovative.
It's Sylvan Carrington Courser deck, Brad. How innovative can it be?
Well, it has a new shell than most decks. Yeah, today I'm going to be playing Sultai Whip, a deck that pretty much got scared from Ugin just in general. Like people just didn't even want to play it starting off the format, and it hasn't really seen any action. And on the road trip back from Memphis, BBD and I were talking about how with Obzon midrange potentially becoming a thing, like Whip deck could be good.
Yeah.
Since Red and Whip, and since BBD loves Whisperwood Elemental, he's like, yeah, we got to jam like this guy in it. I think it'll be good. I'm like, yeah, that's just BBD liking a card. Like, let's just play like Doomwigs because they're good, and like you need to have all these cards that you used to. Well, that's completely wrong. Whisperwood Elemental is insane.
I mean, I played a deck in Memphis that was really bad, and I didn't realize how bad it was because Whisperwood Elemental was so good.
Yeah, and so let's take a look at my Sultai Whip deck, and we'll go through all the reasons why it looks the way it does. Starting off, I do just want to talk about these two cards, because this is what the deck is based around, is 4 Whisperwood Elemental and 4 Sidisi Brood Tyrant. Now, Sidisi was just an enabler for your Whip strategy and all your Delve cards before Fate Reforged, but when you put these two cards together, something magical happens, which is your game plan is literally just cast as many of these in a row as possible. They all have to be dealt with one at a time. So you play a Sidisi, they kill it before you attack. You play Whisperwood, get a manifest. Next turn you play another Whisperwood, they kill one of them, you get another manifest. Now all of a sudden you have 3 bears in play, and all of your removal spells start to deal 6 damage a turn.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to catch up. I've just been casting these guys together and just winning games. And that's the reason why I added Elvish Mystic and cut Thoughtseize from the deck. I'm not trying to slow the games down game 1. I actually want them to be fast, to put these cards into play, get the lifelink from this card, and then once the board is dealt with, they're usually attritioned out, and that just lets the Hornet Queen action from this deck just take over the game. Also, when you manifest this card and it just becomes a chump blocker, it makes Whip so great. Like that play has happened so many times where I just manifest, have a Whip in play, I chump attack with a bunch of guys, they like block the manifest guy because that's the best block for them. And then I just whip back a queen second main phase and I have 4 bees.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it is the bee's knees actually.
Nice. They don't have bees.
I mean, yes they do.
I don't see them.
The joints.
Those are joints, not knees.
But that's what they land on, and those are technically knees because they're joints.
Those are the bee's elbows.
What, do you think that they lift weights with these things? No, they land with them and walk with them.
Oh, they have to lift a weight. The weight of this otherwise unplayable deck.
Oh,
just kidding.
All right.
This deck's great. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, so the deck has more acceleration, main deck recommendation, Tauren Elemental, to go along with the whips for late games.
Yep.
This card has just been good to draw. It might be better as a Sultai Charm, but I do want my threat density to stay as high as possible, or creature density, so my Sidisi's trigger more often than not. And then Tauren Elemental is the deck's Doomwig Giant-esque card. It's also good against blue-black control and Sultai control because it gets exiled and you get to bring it back. It's just when you're attritioned out and you have nothing else to do, this guy's constantly coming back. So in the sideboard, you'll see that we have more Delve cards, more copies of Tauren Elemental.
I love that you can attack with a whip in play.
Yes. Yeah. No, yeah. Manifest allows for the weirdest things to happen. Yeah. Even the case that like I have once attacked with a Sidisi and a manifest and like a zombie, and they block the Sidisi, and I just flip up the other Sidisi and legend rule that one out to deal an extra point of damage. Like just weird stuff has happened. I'm waiting for the lifelink to actually be relevant where I get a flip and let my own thing die. But yeah, Whisperwood has been absurd. The deck looks very stock. We're not doing anything cute with like Pharicas and things like that because there's not a lot of Whip mirror matches yet.
You don't need that kind of stuff.
You don't actually. I played a mirror where he had that kind of stuff, and I just cast 2 Whisperwood Elementals, and he had no chance of catching up. Just no chance. This card is just velocity, just in a can. It just keeps creating more threats, putting your opponent on the back foot. Oftentimes, I'll board some of these out in matchups where things will get a board stall happen and just keep all 4 of these in because they're just so much more powerful. But that's the main deck. Let's take a look at the sideboard real quick, and then we'll go to battle against blue-white splashing red heroic championed by
Joe
Star City
Lissette.
Grinder Joe Lissette. You're stepping over my lines, BBD.
Yeah, well, that's just because I'm infused with the Teamer Battle Rage.
I thought it was gonna flop, but
it did flop. You don't have to.
it was okay. It was better than most.
Okay.
It was a good effort. All right.
Sideboard.
Sideboard.
I'm really bored.
Sidebar. We need intervention.
All right.
These jokes are just getting absurd. So in the sideboard, we have all 4 Thoughtseizes that come in against Ramp, Heroic, Control decks.
Yep.
And the rest of the field, this card isn't even that good against. You might want a couple copies on the draw in certain situations against like Red-White when you want to make sure the Rebels aren't doing anything. But we do have a couple Bioblights, and we have a really aggressive curve, and it's a Sylvan Caryatid deck. Like, the format is not designed to be good against Sylvan Caryatid right now because Sylvan Caryatid tends to be bad.
Yeah.
But this deck, it loves the card. It's like, I've been trying it in Obzon, and it's just so bad. And then I finally played in this deck. I'm like, I forgot how good this card can be. Like, just how great. Like, it's a chump blocker. It's an accelerant. It blocks all these, like, Soulfire Grandmasters. I get to play Coursers and hit a land on turn 3. Generate card advantage.
It's like old standard when you're playing against Jundin, you're on the draw, and they play Farseek on turn 2, and you're just like, I can't win this game.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
And especially when you just get to curve out into Sidisi into Whisperwood.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the sideboard, we have 2 Bioblights against the aggressive strategies. It's just the cheapest, most efficient removal spell. You don't want to play Dronosar because I always want to keep my elves in those matchups too, and I don't want to ever have that problem. 2 negates, 2 disdainful strokes to help out against control, Obzon, Ramp. You don't bring them all in all situations, but I do like the split because negate is a way to power through your own spells against decks like Heroic and control decks, where all of them also counter the big spells like Wrath Effects and Dig Through Times and Ugins and things like that. Another Reclamation Sage to help out against red-based siege decks. I just have found this card to be very good in that matchup, mostly because they can't, play around it because they need their Chain of the Rocks because we have so many threats that are important for them to deal with. A Treasure Cruise and 2 Tazagurs are our delve spells in the sideboard to help out with our threat density against control, but also to allow us to constantly make sure that we are delving this card away and recasting it as many times as possible.
Yeah, I think that's really important, actually, against control decks to have access to a recurring threat. And Soul of Innistrad was once that threat, but I think that Torrent Elemental might be better.
Yeah, it's just too clunky now. Soul has not been that good. It's good when the format is all based around super attrition, but Ugin has created this over the top, so you want to stay aggressive with this deck.
One thing I want to point out about Bioblight versus Drown is that previously this deck needed Drown and Sorrow, but Whisperwood actually changed the dynamic where between Sidisi and Whisperwood Elemental, you actually put so many creatures in play that you can actually just even power through a Jeskai Ascendancy with a bunch of tokens. It's going to take a while, but you can actually still power through it.
Bring the cameras up because this is absurd to say. In the first 2 days of testing this deck, I decked Outpost Siege decks 2 times. 2 times my opponent. Why are you doing this? This feels like a public service announcement where you're just like, don't smother your kids.
Yep. I was trying to provide moral support for what you were about to say, Bradley.
Moral support? Well, no. My opponents needed it because they got decked with double siege in play. They were drawing 3 cards a turn and couldn't keep up with me. It was absurd. I always just had a board presence. They did too, and mine kept getting as big as theirs just by having Whisperwoods and Whips and Hornet Queens and Sidisis, these and Coursers. They were drawing 3 cards a turn, and they just decked. They couldn't, and I was at 40.
This sounds like it actually is a public service announcement.
Don't play 60?
Yeah, play 250. If they were playing Battle Witch, they wouldn't have milled out.
They would not have.
They would have died to regular damage much earlier in the game.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you like the deck. We're going to see what it does against Teamer Battle Rage or Heroic. And that does change the dynamic from the regular blue-white versions.
Yep.
And hopefully I don't just get blown out. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. Could be a bit of a blowout.
In one way or the other.
Yep.
Yep.
Brad knows a thing or two about blowouts.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.